It was almost too easy. Once I had enough examples, I decided it was time to spring the trap. First, I quietly deleted all the fake posts. Then I created a private highlight reel on my Instagram, visible only to a small group of close friends and family. In it, I shared the side-by-side comparisons, my original bait posts next to her copied versions. I didn't add any commentary, just let the pictures speak for themselves. Next, I made a subtle post on my main feed, nothing accusatory, just a cryptic caption. Imitation may be the sincerest form of flattery, but originality is what truly stands out. The response was immediate. Friends started messaging me. Family members texted to say they'd noticed it too, but hadn't wanted to stir the pot. One cousin even said, "I always thought it was weird how she ended up with the same sofa, same outfits, and now a business too. The best part? I didn't have to say a word about Lexi." Everyone else connected the dots. Within a week, the whispers started. People were openly questioning Lexi's posts, commenting things like, "Didn't someone else post that same lamp last month?" or "This looks familiar." She stopped responding to comments. Her stories became less frequent. The over-the-top captions stopped altogether. I didn't feel triumphant. This wasn't about winning. It was about reclaiming my sense of self, my own identity. She had taken so much from me, but this time I was in control. I had drawn a line and she had crossed it. All I did was make sure everyone saw it for what it was. When I finally saw her at a family gathering, she didn't say much. Just a quick hello, and then silence. No mention of the lamp, no sly remarks about our similar taste. It was as if she finally realized the game was over. I'd set the trap. She'd walked into it, and now I finally had my life back. Lexi always prided herself on being one step ahead of trends, of gossip, of anything that might tarnish her shiny, picture-perfect image. But when you've built that image on borrowed pieces of someone else's life, you don't notice the cracks forming until it's too late. The first crack came in the form of an Instagram comment. "Isn't that the same lamp OP posted about a few months ago?" someone asked innocently. Lexi replied to her with her usual upbeat tone, brushing it off, "Oh, must be a popular style." But then came another comment, and another. Soon, followers were tagging me directly, asking if I'd seen Lexi's new look. I didn't respond, just watched as her comments section turned into a slow-moving train wreck. Then there was the cookbook. My fake project, my made-up passion project that never existed, became her next obsession. She even went so far as to hint that a publisher had reached out to her, offering to help turn her recipes into a bestseller. Except there were no recipes. She couldn't cook to save her life, let alone fill an entire book. Her attempts to stage photos of test dishes looked more like Pinterest fails than culinary masterpieces. Even her most loyal followers started asking questions. When can we pre-order? Where's the table of contents preview? Why are all these dishes from random food blogs? I sat back silently as the comments piled up. I didn't have to say a word. The internet did the work for me. It was like setting out breadcrumbs and watching someone follow them into the woods. Next came the business venture. Lexi had teased her new boutique so many times, even hinting at a launch date, that people were practically begging for details. When the date came and went without so much as a website link, her fans grew restless. What happened to the launch? Is this still happening? Did you just make this up? Her silence was deafening. She couldn't provide answers because there were none to give. It was all a facade, a carefully curated collection of ideas she'd taken from me, turned into her brand, and presented as her own. And now it was falling apart. I hadn't planned for her to become the center of internet drama, but it was impossible to stop once it started. Her Instagram followers began sharing screenshots of old posts side by side with mine, pointing out identical captions, layouts, and even the timing of certain announcements. Someone found an old interview she had given about her personal journey and juxtaposed it with a blog post I had written years ago, word for word identical in some places. It wasn't just random followers noticing either. Local influencers who once collaborated with her started distancing themselves. Brands she had worked with before quietly removed her name from campaigns. One company even issued a statement saying they had no current or future plans with Lexi, after a flurry of inquiries from skeptical followers. She tried to pivot. In a shaky, teary Instagram live, she insisted that all of this was a misunderstanding, that she'd been inspired by others but never meant to claim someone else's ideas as her own, but her audience wasn't buying it. The more she tried to explain, the more she contradicted herself and the more people began digging. Soon, followers uncovered her glowing reviews of her favorite restaurant, which were actually copied from Yelp posts by other diners. They found out that her famous morning routine video was filmed in a rental home she pretended was hers. The houseplant she claimed to have cared for since college. A fake, rented from a local prop company. One by one, every carefully constructed piece of her identity came crashing down. I watched it unfold from the sidelines. I didn't need to say anything. I didn't need to expose her myself. Her own followers did all the work. They turned over every stone, shone a light on every falsehood, and let the truth spill out for everyone to see. But the final blow came when her last line of defense, the family, started to crumble. Up until this point, her parents and mutual relatives had been staunch supporters, always ready to brush off criticism as jealousy. But now, they couldn't ignore the sheer weight of evidence against her. At a family gathering, someone finally brought it up. Why is everyone saying Lexi's posts are fake? She tried to laugh it off, saying people were just trolling. But when more family members chimed in, mentioning the copied captions, the staged photos, the fabricated partnerships, her cheerful facade began to crack. For the first time, she didn't have a snappy comeback or an innocent excuse. She turned to me, searching for support. I just looked at her and said, "Maybe it's time you stop worrying about what everyone thinks and just figure out who you really are." Her face fell, and for the first time in years, Lexi had nothing to say. After that, she went quiet. No more daily posts, no more inspirational captions, no more updates about her exciting projects. Her account remained active, but the carefully curated persona she had spent so long constructing was gone. In its place was an occasional family photo, a blurry shot of a sunset, or a brief caption about taking time to find herself. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Watching her step back, watching her finally stop pretending to be something she wasn't, was enough. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, and when it does, you don't need to push anyone over the edge. They'll fall on their own. It's easy to look at Lexi's downfall and feel a sense of satisfaction. After all, she spent years copying my life and pretending it was her own. But if this experience taught me anything, it's that living inauthentically will always catch up with you. What starts as a small, harmless mimicry can quickly grow into a facade so intricate that it becomes impossible to maintain. And the truth, as it always does, will find a way to shine through. In some ways, I can't entirely blame her. The pressure to appear perfect online can push anyone to create a version of themselves that doesn't exist. We see curated highlights, airbrushed perfection, and think that's the standard we have to meet. Lexi's choices were her own, but they were also a product of a culture that values appearances over authenticity. That's where her true mistake lay, not just in copying me, but in never figuring out who she was beyond the filters and followers. For me, this journey was a reminder of something simple but profound. Our identity, our true self, is worth more than any number of likes, shares, or comments. Trying to live someone else's life or building your own around another person's story only leads to a fragile foundation that can't withstand the weight of reality. The most fulfilling life is the one that's truly your own, flaws and all. Your identity is more valuable than any imitation or online persona. In a world obsessed with appearances, the most powerful thing you can do is to live honestly and authentically. That's where true happiness lies, not in the likes or the filters, but in embracing who you are, no matter how imperfect that may be. At first it was flattering. A shared outfit here, a similar hairstyle there. But soon it became clear. My sister-in-law wasn't just copying my look, she was copying my entire life. In this jaw-dropping episode of Reddit Family Stories, watch what happens when admiration turns into obsession. And how I turned the tables without ever saying a word. What you'll discover in this must-watch episode, the creepy clues that something wasn't quite right. How a carefully crafted trap exposed her lies. Why sometimes silence speaks louder than confrontation. Sometimes the best revenge is letting someone walk right into their own mess. In this explosive chapter of Reddit Family Stories, you'll see how I use subtle moves and smarter strategy to reclaim my life, without ever getting my hands dirty. Have you ever dealt with a copycat? Drop your story in the comments. And stay tuned for more Reddit Family Stories where identity, envy, and family collide in the most unexpected ways. Content. Have you ever seen two people who aren't related look so identical in every single way? That's me and my SIL. The only difference is that I'm real. She's just copying. It didn't start out this way. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. Maybe she liked my taste. Maybe we just happened to shop at the same stores or gravitate toward the same home decor trends. But it didn't take long for the pattern to become obvious. And more than a little creepy. If I posted a picture of a new outfit, she'd coincidentally show up wearing it at the next family gathering. If I mentioned a great restaurant my partner and I tried, her next Instagram story would be tagged at that same restaurant, right down to ordering the same dish. It started to feel like my life wasn't my own anymore. The most infuriating part? She played it off as pure happenstance. "Oh, I didn't know you had those shoes, too. Great minds think alike, huh?" she'd say with a laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. But the evidence was undeniable. Same outfits, same vacation destinations, even the same captions on her Instagram posts, sometimes word for word what I'd written weeks earlier. At first I tried to ignore it. Surely it would stop on its own, right? Maybe she'd move on to someone else's style, someone else's life. But as months went by, it only got worse. Friends started commenting on how similar we were. Family members made jokes about how she was my mini-me. Meanwhile, I felt like I was losing my individuality, my voice, my identity. So one night, after another coincidental copycat moment, I decided enough was enough. If she wanted my life so badly, I'd let her have it, but not without a few surprises along the way. This time, I wasn't just going to sit back and watch. I had a plan. It was time to set a trap. It was almost funny at first. Almost. My sister-in-law had always admired my taste. She even said so herself. "You have such a great sense of style," she'd gush, every time I wore a new outfit or shared photos of my home decor. But over time, admiration turned into imitation. Then it went beyond imitation and into something much stranger. At first it was little things. She'd show up to family dinners wearing the exact same dress I had posted on Instagram 2 weeks before. She'd buy the same rug I had in my living room and then tag me in her story saying, "Look what I found. Isn't it just perfect?" I laughed it off because really, what's the harm in someone liking the same things? It was flattering, until it wasn't. Then came the furniture. When my partner and I bought a unique mid-century modern sofa from a local boutique, I posted a quick photo of it on Instagram. Within 2 weeks, that same sofa appeared in her feed, styled exactly the same way, same throw pillows, same rug underneath it. She even had the nerve to comment on my original post. "You have great taste." It didn't stop there. Every time I shared something new, a cute outfit, a weekend getaway, a new recipe I was trying, she'd suddenly discover the exact same thing. She didn't even try to hide it. Friends and family started noticing. People would joke, "Wow, you two are like twins." And she'd laugh, saying something like, "I just can't help it, she's my style icon." But it wasn't just style anymore. One day I came across her Pinterest account by chance. What I found there made my jaw drop. It was as if she had copied my entire profile and recreated it as her own. Every board was identical to mine. Dream home, vacation goals, outfit inspo. Even the pins were the same. The captions, though, were slightly altered to make it seem like they were hers all along. It was unsettling, to say the least. And then, the final straw. A month after my partner and I announced we were planning a trip to Iceland, she posted a photo of her new passport, captioned, "Can't wait to check Iceland off my bucket list." When I confronted her, asking if she was planning a trip too, she just smiled and said, "Oh, I thought it would be fun to see what the hype is all about." The kicker? She had booked her flights for the exact same dates as ours. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. My life was no longer my own. Every part of me, my interests, my home, my style, even my vacations, was being copied and paraded around as her own personal brand. It was infuriating, but more than that, it was deeply unsettling. I started second-guessing everything I shared online. Would she steal this next? What about that? I knew I couldn't keep living like this. But confronting her directly hadn't worked. She always had an excuse or a laugh ready. So I started thinking about other ways to handle it, ways that didn't involve arguing or getting defensive. If she wanted my life so badly, maybe it was time I gave her something she couldn't resist, something she'd regret. It was clear I couldn't confront her directly. Not because I was scared, far from it. It was because direct confrontation hadn't worked. Each time I tried to bring it up, she'd deflect, joke, or act so oblivious that I started to doubt myself. No way, I didn't even realize you had the same one. Oh my gosh, how funny is that? She'd say, her laugh dripping with fake innocence. But it wasn't funny. It wasn't a coincidence. And it wasn't going to stop. That's when I realized if I wanted her to back off, I'd need a different approach. Something more subtle, more clever. Something that would make her think twice before copying me again. I started paying closer attention to her habits. She wasn't just following my Instagram feed or picking up on things I mentioned at family dinners. She was meticulously tracking every little detail I shared online. My posts, my comments, even the playlists I casually mentioned. That gave me an idea. The first step was setting a trap. A harmless one, but a trap nonetheless. I crafted a few posts on my social media accounts that were completely fake. For starters, I uploaded a photo of a new lamp I supposedly bought for the living room, except the lamp wasn't new at all. It was something I'd found on an obscure website, a one-off piece I didn't actually own. In the caption, I raved about how much I loved it, how it totally tied the room together. The second post was even more daring. I announced that my partner and I were starting a small business. I made it sound fancy but vague. Excited to finally be launching our new boutique project. Can't share too much yet, but let's just say it's been a long time coming. In reality, there was no boutique, no project. It was a complete fabrication. But the point wasn't to fool everyone. It was to see if she'd take the bait. It didn't take long. Within days, Lexi posted a photo of her new lamp, the same obscure piece I'd claimed to have bought. Her caption? "I just got this gorgeous lamp. Can't believe how much it elevates the space." I almost laughed out loud. Then 2 weeks later, she made an announcement on her Instagram stories. "So excited to share that I'm working on a new business venture. Stay tuned for updates. It's going to be amazing." There it was, the proof I needed, but I wasn't done yet. I wanted more than just validation that she was copying me. I wanted her to realize how ridiculous and transparent her behavior had become. I let the bait sit for a while. I didn't call her out right away. Instead, I quietly started collecting more evidence. Another fake post, a photo of a cookbook I supposedly wrote. I captioned it, "Finally finished my passion project. Can't wait to see this baby on shelves next month." Sure enough, within days, Lexi posted a photo of herself working on her own cookbook, complete with a staged shot of her at the kitchen counter, laptop open, pretending to type out recipes. Next, I uploaded a story about a fictional weekend retreat. I picked a random bed and breakfast from a neighboring state and posted a photo of their website's homepage, claiming I'd just returned from the most relaxing getaway. 3 days later, Lexi shared a picture from that exact same bed and breakfast, gushing about how it was the perfect place to recharge.